Welcome to another episode of Synoptus Lightning Round, where we ask 6 rapid-fire questions with some of the sharpest business minds talking about accelerating business value through technology, IT business alignment, and IT leadership development. Now, here's Cameron and David.
I'm Cameron Ames, CTO of Synoptus, and I'm here with Dave Reddick, CEO. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Cameron. Thanks for asking. I'm really excited this week. You and I are going to be partnering with the Indiana Economic Development Council, Ivy Tech Community College, and the Madison Area Chamber of Commerce to do a small business presentation called Transform Your Business. It's about resources that are available to small businesses to help them transform in the midst of the coronavirus. I know you're going to be talking after me, and what's the message that you're going to bring to small businesses this Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So one of the things that I really am hoping that comes across to small businesses is that there's a certain power and accessibility within CRM that really hasn't existed in previous decades or previous generations of technology. And there are a lot of touch points that they're missing because they're not leveraging those tools. So I hope that comes across, and it provides another outlet to connect with customers, especially in the midst of current events right now. David, I know that you're speaking before me. What about you?
So a lot of our customers are larger customers. We tend to draw some large businesses, but one of the things that's really cool is being able to talk to small businesses and say, because this technology is available and because we're making ourselves available, here are resources that give you a competitive advantage. And if you adopt this knowledge and this resource and this type of thinking, you could have a leg up in the midst of this environment. This doesn't have to be a negative. This can be an opportunity to transform your business and really think about what's my business process and how can I transform my business so that when things return to normal, I'm one step ahead of my competition. So today we're talking to Phil Moulton. Phil is going to be speaking to us on leadership development today, and let's jump into the video. Today I'm talking to Phil Moulton, who is Director of Risk Management at Colfax. How are you doing today, Phil?
I'm doing really well, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing great. Ready for some rapid fire questions about accelerating business value?
I'm ready. Go.
So give us a minute. Tell us about yourself and your company.
Absolutely. So Phil Moulton, Director of Risk Management for Colfax. I'm based in Wilmington, Delaware. I've had over 25 years of experience in auditing, consulting, risk management across many industries. My company, Colfax, is a global technology company, and with 2 brands. First brand is DJO, which does orthopedic products and services, and ESUB, which provides fabrication technology products and services.
Great. And so we're talking about leadership development. Can you tell us how leadership development and training accelerates business value for your company?
Oh, absolutely. I think leadership training and development helps leverage the skills and talents of a team as opposed to a collection of individuals. And, when I think of leaders, I try and look for people that can take 1 + 1 = 3 as opposed to 2, or even worse, 1.5. Good leaders not just bring out the best in individual people, but are able to foster a culture that gets people wanting to work together and to do their best, whether they're supervised or unsupervised. And I think in a business context, that's really important because, from my experience, particularly during my consulting days, no matter what industry you're speaking of, it's just so highly competitive out there. Whenever one company makes a lot of money in one segment of the market, you can be sure that competitors will jump in the next year and come and they will want to eat your lunch. That's the way business works these days. And the key is to get folks to use their talents, their imaginations, skills to get the company ahead, stay ahead. And obviously creating sustainable competitive advantage is much easier said than done. but there's many instances where companies where they invest in good leadership development and good leaders have been able to stay ahead of the curve. And I think the other part to that is really important, that I believe that leaders are made, not just born. And if you look at all of the research and the experience that we've had over centuries, millennia, we've seen that everyone has the capacity to improve their leadership skills. So, and from a more personal perspective, we're all works in progress. So, leadership development is a great personal opportunity I think people should invest in as well.
I love what you said there. I love the idea that leaders are that you're busting the myth that leaders are born, and that leaders can be trained and raised up, and also that great leaders add a level of synergy there for the team performance. So you get that 1 + 1 is 3. I think that's great.
Absolutely.
What do you think the biggest challenge is with leadership training and development?
I think it's a very contemporary one, and I'll be curious as to what other speakers say. But I think it is showing a tangible return on investment. And I think for any business executive out there, they're always challenged. And it's not just leadership training and development. It's also marketing. Do I invest in this project or this program? How do I show a return on investment? How do I justify corporate resources, not just money, but attention and time towards training for business leaders? And I guess also in line with that, how will this training and leadership and development help me achieve my objectives? And these are sort of two major hurdles that I see many contemporary organizations have to deal with in determining whether leadership training and development programs are for them.
I 100% agree, and I think a lot of businesses are in the same boat.
And particularly now, it's a tough time out there.
I agree. So, can you tell us a real-world example of a positive outcome you've seen from leadership training and development in Colfax or in another environment?
I just reflect on my career more broadly, and from where I came to where I am. And as folks may guess, I'm not from the US, I'm from Australia. And I started my career in a very remote part of Australia called Cairns. And right from the get-go, I had opportunities both within the firm I was working in at the time, as well as almost every other company I've worked in, to be mentored, be coached at a one-on-one level, also through formalized training in groups, through conversations, sometimes very difficult conversations I've had with people and with supervisors through the years. And here I am today, working in the US, far away from where I started. And I would not have gotten here without, in the role that I serve, which is quite a responsible role, without having the benefit of that leadership training and development over many years. And I've had the privilege of leading teams on small projects, 3, 4, 5 people, up to being a business unit head in Singapore, a country not my own, with 35 people. So it's been quite an amazing journey, and I would not have been able to achieve that without investing my own time in leadership training, but also benefiting from the development and training I've gotten from the companies and organizations I've worked with.
I feel exactly the same way. It's my career wouldn't be where it was at without leadership coaching, mentoring, and formal training. So, if someone who's watching this or listening to this said, "I am really thinking about a leadership training initiative," either for themselves personally or in their organization, what's one piece of advice you would give them that would get them started in the right direction?
I think there are two pieces to the same puzzle on this. Is firstly, be very clear on what you want to achieve. Have a very solid, even written plan. And sometimes writing is important to really clarify our thinking and to really target that training to those needs. What are you trying to achieve at the end of the day? Training should really be based on where individuals are at in their development. in addition to where is the organization going? How does this fit within the overall organizational strategy? And this ties back to what I was talking about before with return on investment. I think the second interlinked part of that is build a shared understanding of what does good leadership look like within your organization. And I think it's very helpful to build out a model of leadership specific to your organization. What kind of attributes good leaders are expected to have, etc. I've attended very large group sessions in leadership training that have provided cookie cutter solutions and exercises, and I think I came away from that very jazzed up, but a couple of weeks later, you're back to your old habits. You don't really see the personal change. On the other hand, where I've had one-on-one coaching and mentoring, I found that has been far more effective for me personally. And I think most organizations would get the benefit of that. On the large group sessions, I think there are benefits to those, particularly if you're outlining a framework or the program to generate buzz and energy and enthusiasm around the leadership training as a kickoff. But I think that the best bang for buck, I think, is that one-on-one coaching and mentoring in leadership.
I completely agree with you. I couldn't have said it better. So the last question should be easy. It's a minute, and take some time and plug anything you want. Plug your business, plug a favorite book you're reading right now, plug a charity, shout out to your family or friends, anything you can imagine, anything you want to talk about. Go.
I think two books come to mind, and I'm just I know you gave me wide range there, but two books come to mind, and if I just look at my table here, so one book I'm reading right now, I don't know if you can see it properly, Leadership Agility. This is a fantastic book by Joyner and Josephs, and I think if you're serious about leadership development, either for your organization or personally, it's a fantastic framework and model. You can build your own leadership plan on that. That's the first one. And David, you may know the author to this one, but I really like this one. I'm not going to say the title, but it is a very nice, practical, easy read, and it really does capture a lot of good, solid leadership lessons and stories. So I really enjoyed working through this. Well, I didn't work through it. I read it, so it was a good read.
I feel like I owe you $20 for the plug.
You weren't expecting that, were you, David?
No, I was not. Thank you so very much for those kind words. I respect your opinion greatly, and so for you to say that means a great deal to me, Phil. In all sincerity. So I'm going to close the interview by thanking Phil Moulton for his time. If you want to learn more about Colfax, we'll have a link to it at the bottom of the video here.
Thank you, Phil, for that video. There were a lot of good insights in there. Dave, what'd you think?
So obviously he plugged a really great book, probably one of the best leadership books available on the market. And I don't know, whoever wrote that, genius. But one of the things that Phil mentioned was the synergy that comes from good leadership. And I've always believed this, right? The 1 + 1 equals 3 is how Phil posed it. It reminded me of one of my favorite books, which is Multiplier, and it's by Liz Wiseman. Liz talks about how leaders, you get more. The 1 of the leader plus the 1 of the staff equals 3. And so I thought that was an insightful observation by Phil. How about you, Cameron?
Yeah, so I thought there were a lot of good things that we could spend a lot of time unpacking, but for the sake of time here, I think that from an individual contributor's perspective, oftentimes a leader seems almost superhuman in many ways when they're really good. And they think, how is this possible? They don't understand what's going on necessarily a good leader does well. I think that Phil's point about leadership being a characteristic and a skill that is developed over time, rather than some ingrained trait within someone, I think that's really insightful, and it's really important for people to keep in mind that, if you have a good leader, they weren't born that way. They didn't start that way. They got that way over time. And conversely, if there's things in leadership that you are wanting to change, that can happen. That is something that needs to happen over time, and people can grow and develop and sharpen those skills. So I thought that was particularly insightful.
Yeah, I want to just add one more quick comment what you pointed out aligns really well with how I approach leadership development in Synoptus. I don't believe in the one and done leadership training, and we don't do one and done where someone comes in and does a bunch of rah-rah leadership speak. It's really about leadership as a habit and working with leaders over an extended period of time to ingrain those habits of leadership, providing them with a level of accountability and to produce the outcomes that Phil was talking about, generating ROI on leadership training. I think leadership training has to go that way. We can no longer do little rah-rahs and hope that people get better. So.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again to Phil for talking with Synoptus.